Shalom and welcome to GMS Archaeology. I'm going to start off by saying Barakateh Yahweh, Barakateh Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the elders and apostles of GMS. And salutations and honors to you brothers out there doing this work in sincerity and truth. And I give a little shout out to the very few sisters out there that may be still listening to us. In the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. What you're looking at right now is the Sennacheribs Prism in the British Museum, also known as a Taylor Prism. And the reason why it's called a Taylor Prism because according to the archaeology, it was supposedly discovered by Colonel Robert Taylor, and that's why they call it the Taylor Prism. But really it's Sennacheribs Prism, and basically what it is a six-sided Akkadian, I believe it was Akkadian cuneiform clay tablet, which had, like I said, six sides of Sennacheribs, which was a king of Assyria. It was his exploits as a king in the different empires and kingdoms that he took down. And the different towns, nations, countries, whatever you want to call it, that he took down. Now, what's interesting about this is that, you have people out there, especially among those clowns in the black community or black conscious or unconscious community that say that the Bible is plagiarized, that the Bible has no validity, it's the white man's book, and how come there's no proof of the existence of Israel or any of their greatness, or if the Israelites made Egypt so great, there should be some remnant or some proof that there was another kingdom after that they made great. Well, there is proof. The thing is that you're stuck in the matrix, basically, that Hamitic matrix, and you don't believe what the scriptures say, because the kingdom of Israel was a great kingdom. You had King Solomon, which was the greatest king, or the wisest king, or the wisest and greatest king that ever was on the planet, until Yahweh Shai came, which, for those of you that know anything or that have your eyes open, you know that Yahweh Shai and King Solomon were the same. You had monarchy or monarchies that visited King Solomon just for his greatness and for his wisdom, and would bring him presents. One of the key figures was the Queen of Sheba, Makeda, So there's plenty of proof, But the thing about it is, when you try to go into these different things, you have opinions of so-called scholars, you have opinions of gatekeepers, which keep the knowledge or the information that comes in and the information that goes out. And that's basically what the problem is. You're relying on the so-called white man for your information. And we do videos like this not for the sake of trying to prove what the Bible's saying, as far as from a faith standpoint, but just to show you that there are extra biblical sources out there outside of the scriptures that talk about certain monarchies and certain events of the scriptures. Bottom line, and this right here, Sennacheribs Prism, is one of those sources. Okay, so now we're gonna read, because this is all Akkadian cuneiform, and or it's cuneiform. I believe it's Akkadian cuneiform because Akkadia is right in the vicinity of Assyria, and that's what usually the things are written of. And this is a clay tablet. It was baked with these words of this particular king, which is Sennacherib. And so we're gonna read about this and read a couple of scriptures and go into it. Now, this is this is the actual translation of the cuneiform, as you can see here, And this is like a little more detailed for those of you that do read cuneiform, which I know you clowns out there that talk shit about the scriptures. You don't read no cuneiform. I don't read this stuff. I'm not an expert in cuneiform. I couldn't begin to decipher this stuff, but I know that you had certain kings among the Assyrians that did have a lot of them. A lot of those kings had interactions with Israel, So, and I know that based off of the scriptures, that is so, But you clowns out there that talk that shit that the Bible's plagiarized and this and that, you wouldn't be able to decipher this if you had a gun pointed to your head. You can't even decipher the Hamitic bullshit that they got out there, the hieroglyphs. But anyway, here it goes. It says Sennacherib, which is the king of Assyria at that time. And this exploit of that we're speaking of right now took place in 701 BC, or circa 701 BC, which is before Christ, or BCE, before the Christian era, or as some scholars may say, before the Common Era. It says Sennacherib, the great king, the mighty king, king of the world, king of Assyria, king of the four quarters, the wise shepherd, favorite of the great gods, guardian of right, lover of justice, who lends support, who comes to the aid of the destitute, who performs pious acts, perfect hero, mighty man, first among all princes, the powerful one who consumes in submissive, who strikes the wicked with the thunderbolt, the god Ashur, the great mountain, an unrivaled kinship has entrusted to me, and above all those who dwell in palaces has made powerful my weapons, from the upper sea of the setting sun to the lower sea of the rising sun. He has brought the black-headed people in submission at my feet, and mighty kings feared my warfare, leaving their homes and flying alone like the Sidinu, the bird of the cave, to some inaccessible place. Now, keep in mind, whenever these kings would write about their exploits, they will always embellish. They will always make more of what they really were. They'll make more of their character than what they really were, and they'll say they'll tell tall tales, about their exploits, even though they did destroy and defeat and put into submission certain kingdoms and peoples, but they will go beyond, and try to paint a picture of as if they really did more than what they really did. But I just read the first excerpt from this six-sided cuneiform, just part of it, just to give you an example of that. This is talking about this particular Syrian king. But now we're going to jump to the pertinent parts, which is here towards the end, which this was his third expedition. So this is what he said in his third expedition. It says, as for Hezekiah the Judite. Now, if any of you that are familiar with the scriptures, you know that Hezekiah was a king of Judah. And those of you that know the history, you know that Hezekiah was a king of Judah, but Judah meant the kingdom of Judah, which is Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, which is the three tribes that were really basically allotted to King David, which really was Judah and Benjamin, and Levi were just the priests, but they ended up kicking all the priests out from all the different tribes and coming back to Judah. So that's why you had three tribes left in Israel. It says, as for Hezekiah the Judite, who did not submit to my yoke, 46 of his strong walled cities, as well as the small towns in their area, which were without number, by leveling without battering rams, and by bringing up siege engines, and by attacking and storming on foot, by mines, tunnels, and breaches, I besieged and took them 200,150 people, great and small, male and female, horses, mules, asses, camels, cattle, and sheep without number. I brought away from them and counted as spoil. Hezekiah himself, like a caged bird, I shut up in Jerusalem. His royal city, I threw up earthworks against him. The one coming out of the city gate, I turned back to his misery. His cities, which I had despoiled, I cut off from his land, and to the Mitinity king of Ashdod, Pedai, king of Ekron, and Sili Bel, king of Gaza, I gave them. So in other words, when he took down certain cities of Judah, he gave it to these Hamites. And there's an account in the scriptures where King Hezekiah got all that land back. You know, when you read the history. And thus I diminished his land, I added to the former tribute, and I laid upon him the surrender of their land and imposts. Gifts of my majesty added to the former tribute, and I laid upon him the surrender of their land and imposts. Gifts for my majesty. As for Hezekiah, the terrifying splendor of my majesty overcame him, and the Arabs and his mercenary troops, which he had brought in to strengthen Jerusalem, his royal city, deserted him, in addition to the 30 talents of gold and 800 talents of silver, gems, antimony, jewels, large chameleons, ivory inlaid couches, ivory inlaid chairs, elephant hides, elephant tusks, ebony boxwood, all kinds of valuable treasures, as well as his daughters, his harem, his male and female musicians, which he had brought after me to Nineveh, my royal city, to pay tribute and to accept servitude. He dispatched his messengers. So basically, this was an account of this particular king, of the things that he did to King Hezekiah, and the different tributes that King Hezekiah paid to him. Now, what you have to understand is that we're going to read the scriptures on this, but King Hezekiah had rebelled against the Assyrian king Sennacherib, because he knew that the Most High was with him, and he did that which was pleasing in the Most High's sight. He kept the Most High's commandments to the best of his ability, and he wasn't afraid of the king of Assyria, so he rebelled by not paying him the tribute. But now we got to understand is that tribute came from his father Ahaz, because King Ahaz was in a situation where the Syrians were coming to attack him, and he took the gold from the temple, and he took a certain amount of stuff, I'll say, and gave it to the king of Assyria at that time to help him with this situation that he had. So from that point on, that tribute was expected of the kings of Judah. And when his son came into power, Hezekiah, he said, look, I ain't paying this guy no more this shit, because the Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua is with me. But the Lord was with these Syrians to take over the world at that particular time. So in process of time, he turned around and he started paying tribute back again. So you have to get that history in order. Now, what I'm going to do is, as you see here, these are the hieroglyphs. I'm sorry, not the hieroglyphs. These are this is the cuneiform, which is the word cuneiform. Cuni is wedge and form is writing. This is the wedge writing, and the wedge writing that you see here, which we read here, this is part of the translation in the English. And then when you go to the actual cuneiform, which you see up top here, the decipherment or the breakdown of this to translate it into the English language would be this is the translation of the Akkadian cuneiform, Hezekiah Ayu, which is Hezekiah, and this is actually written in the cuneiform. And then the next part of the cuneiform says Yaudai. If I know I'm not pronouncing it correctly, but I'm trying to pronounce it as I see it. It says of Judah. Okay, so Hezekiah of Judah, and this is part of the rendering of the cuneiform, Hezekiah the Judite. Okay, as you see here again, Hezekiah of Judah. Then the next part of the cuneiform that's translated is Ursalimu Alisharm Tishu, which is Jerusalem, his royal city. Okay, as you read through here, you'll see that the word Jerusalem